In this lesson, we'll create the interior for the headlight. So we need to create the interior space for the headlight to go, and we have several pieces here that we could use to create that, but since the topology is not really flowing the way that we would need to for this, I think it might be just easier to start with some new geometry to do this. So I'm going to go up to front view. Alright, and we'll work over on this side. Let's go ahead to the create panel and let's just create a box. I'm going to just pull that box across in the general shape there, just add a little bit of height to that. Let's go ahead and drop that into the right position. Just kind of move that up to the front there. Alright, and now I want to add a little bit of resolution over here on this side. Okay, so we can create kind of a nice curve shape there. So let's go into the creation parameters here, and we can add. Let's add maybe a couple on this side, and I don't really need any that direction, but we'll add a couple and a few more in this direction. Okay, so now we can go ahead and just shape this a little bit by converting this to an editable poly, grabbing the vertices, and coming in and let's just shape it from the front first of all, just by matching it up to the curve headlight. It doesn't have to be exact. It just has to, you don't want it to penetrate out the side, basically. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull this over. Alright. Let's go ahead and get rid of these front polygons, or let's actually copy those or detach them. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab these, and I'm going to hold down Shift and just pull those off. Okay, and that's going to clone them to either an element or an object. I'm going to go ahead and clone them to a new object. Okay, you could also go in and detach. Okay, you can see how this actually cloned those. So if you want to get rid of these now, you can come in and actually delete those. Okay, if you wanted to detach this, you could just skip that part. Alright, so now what we can do is with this selected, okay, we'll select all these polygons. We can select this element. Okay, and if we go to, we want to go down to edit polygons, we want to change that to a polygon selection. And go to edit polygons, we want to flip those. Okay, and what that's going to do is flip those normals so that they're actually pointing inside now. Let's go ahead and move this guy out of the way for now. And now let's go ahead and just do a little bit of shaping. So I'm going to go ahead and add a modifier. Let's add a 2x2x2 freeform deformation modifier here. Go ahead, choose the control points, grab the ones on this side, and just pull this back. Okay, so it's kind of straight back. There we go. And we can grab the ones over here if we want to kind of pull that in just a little bit. Okay, and once we've got that the way that we want to, we can go ahead and collapse that. Collapse that stack. I'm going to go ahead and just select the back part of our headlight interior. Okay, and I can just kind of move that straight back if I want to. If I want to rotate that, make it more a little bit straighter, maybe scale it in just a little bit, move it over, just so it's something that's a little bit straighter there. Okay, we can take these vertices, and from the side, we can go in and just kind of move those back. Okay, there we go. Now, if we want to have this kind of penetrate in there, we can kind of scale this up. Let's go ahead and take this guy and move those points back. Back inside there a little bit. So we'll go ahead and move that in, and also these points up here. So we're just seeing now the inside of that. Go ahead and grab these as well and move those down. So we don't really care about those anymore. Just trying to see the inside of that. Okay, so now if we select this guy, go ahead and scale this up just a little bit. Okay, and let's take these edges, basically these edges here and also these. Okay, let's just do this one at a time actually. And we'll go ahead and just shift move those over. Same thing down here. Shift and move those down so that we get a little bit of a lip there. You can move that down if you want, maybe scale it up so that you don't get too much of a lip. Okay, now we want to add some vents here on the inside, so what we need to do is add that kind of resolution in here by selecting the ring and then using our favorite tool, Connect. And let's go ahead and add maybe something like that. Let's go ahead and add another one right up here. Select the ring, and this time we'll just add one. Okay, we'll move that up to the front. And then we'll select these polygons here. And what I want to do is just pull these up, but I want to rotate them around this edge. So what we can do is use hinge from edge. So we'll go ahead and choose hinge from edge. And now if I click on this edge and drag, I can pull that up, and you can see how that's hinging from that edge. Okay, so I can pull that out as far as I want. So just a little bit. I can grab these polygons here, do the same thing, hinge from edge, create another vent kind of right in there, and again do the same thing here, hinge from edge. Okay, it gives you just a little bit of that vent detail in there. You can also grab those front faces, those front polygons rather, and we can inset them and extrude them in. Okay, so we can do an inset and say OK, and then let's go ahead and extrude those in just a little bit, just something to give us a little bit of detail in there. This is going to be inside the headlight, so it's not going to be that visible, but every little bit helps. All right. Now this guy we can actually use. Let me go ahead and center the pivot under Hierarchy, Effect Pivot, Center Pivot. We can actually utilize this for our headlight cover if we kind of rotate this around. And we need to scale this a bit. Okay. We should be able to use this as a basis for some kind of a headlight cover here. Okay, we can add a shell modifier to give it some thickness. Okay, if we want to do that. Okay, we could also take the border edge. So if we select that border, hold down Shift and just pull that straight back. We can also do that to give it a little bit of thickness. Okay, and then when you come in and smooth it, you get something like that. So you may want to go ahead and take those front polygons and do a little bit of an inset there to give it a little bit more shape. And then you can come in and use that. And you may need to come in and add some resolution in here on this side to actually get that to hold its shape a little better. So I can go down here and choose ring. So going back to our selection rollout, and then we'll add another line right in there. Sorry, slide that over. And now if we check that, you can see it's getting a little bit tighter there. So just you may be able to use that for your actual headlight cover. If you want to bend that out a little bit and make it a little bit more of a, give it a little bit more of a bend, you could use a bend modifier on there. If I change the angle, you can see that that's not really giving us what we want. So we can change the axis, and that's kind of a little bit better. Okay. And go ahead and see what the result of that. We can move it around if we want to. Okay. And so you might want to actually go ahead and just tighten that up even a little bit more in there. So you can see you might want to add one more line right across here in this direction. Go ahead and select that ring and connect. Go ahead and drop that down. And now what you should see is something a bit sharper at the bottom And you may want to do that up at the top as well. Okay. And then you can kind of just move this around. And you may need to space out the glass over on this side. You can see where you don't want it to be quite so sharp over here. So I could take these and we'll go to wireframe so I can make sure and select everything that I want here. We turned off that bin for a moment. And I can kind of space that out. And that'll give us a little bit softer edge there. And you can go in and shape that if you want to. But anyway, that is how we can start to add not only the cover, but also the interior of this headlight. We can go ahead and make this a gray or something dark so that we can see what that looks like. All right, and this is going to be just our transparent cover there. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, let's go ahead and move to the back finally and start working on some of the geometry back here along the back end. It's just not too much going on back here right now, but we'll go ahead and change that in the next lesson.